Okay, here we go into lesson 2 for this week. Talking personification now. So, again, still looking at poetic devices, still looking at a glorious poetic device. Personification is one of my favorites, and I love seeing how this shows up in all types of literature, not just poetry. So, let's go into it. When we are talking about this, just like we did the last time, we need to start with our definition. So, for personification, we are talking about another type of comparison. So, that's the interesting thing about the stuff we've looked at this week. They're all comparisons. How are we comparing two thoughts together that are not very similar, but using either it being something like it is something or using like or as. And now we're talking about taking an object, an animal, an idea, or a place, and we're giving it human qualities, which is a type of comparison. So if we look at our examples for this, the ocean swallowed the small boat. This gives us so many beautiful visuals. Like, how does the ocean swallow something? Is there a gigantic wave that's just like overtaking the boat? Is there like something happening in the water that the boat just like sinks down into it? Did the boat get capsized? Who knows? But this gives us so many different visuals to pay attention to. We can also look at the next example. One lonely star looked down from the sky. Oh, well, why is the star lonely? Is it just by itself? Can you not see the other stars? Is it the brightest star and all the other ones are kind of masked behind? Um, is space lonely? So many different questions that you can ask, which leads to so many different kinds of visuals. That's why this one is so exciting to me. All right. So, how it shows up. When we see this in prose, we notice that it can create strong or surprising pictures in our minds. So think back to the questions that I just asked about all the different examples that we had. The other part that's nice about it too is that it can help set the mood or emphasize an idea that's happening within the text. So if we look at the quote from Carl Sandburg, slang is a language that rolls up its sleeves, spits on its hands, and goes to work. Um, cool imagery for one. But just thinking about the fact that slang, rolls up its sleeves and spits on its hands, like it does the gritty work, it gets to the point, it does more work than like all of the elaborate type of language that we could use. So it gives all different sorts of pictures in our mind, and it is really emphasizing that idea of what slang does versus like common speech or things like that, like the eloquent speech. All right, personification in poetry. This, very similar to in prose, can also add mood or meaning to what is happening in the text or the writing. It also gives us the chance to really see something that might not otherwise be visible. Again, if you think back to what I said in the last video, um, we only have a small amount of space in order to get these big, vast ideas out onto paper or onto a Google Doc or something like that. So you want to have the right words. You want to be very thoughtful of those kind of words. And if you're using personification, it can really put out those things without being very direct and being, to the point. This can make those things very visible for us. So if we look at the example from Emily Dickinson, we're going to see her 2 times in this. A narrow winds complain all day how someone treated him. Oh, very beautiful. So again, taking an object like the wind and looking at the fact about how it complains about something and the fact that something treated him, not very nicely. So this is what we're going to be looking for in the stuff that we look at this week for writing, or for poetry for the next set of it. So like the last one, you have 2 assignments that you're going to do. The first one, you're going to create personification. You're going to get a list of words and you are going to see how you can personify those words. It's just a little practice to kind of get you in the mode of doing that so that if you choose to use it for your poetry assignment at the end of this week, you know what to look for. You might be able to use some of those examples. The other thing that you're going to do, oh, I spelled Dickinson wrong on the other side. Okay, whatever. The other thing that you're going to do is go through the poem Because I Could Not Stop for Death by Emily Dickinson. Um, One of my all-time favorite poems. It is so beautiful. The visuals are great. If you feel like you need a little extra something to do this week, see if you can draw a picture representing what is happening in this poem because it is fascinating. It is so beautiful. The personification is just glorious and it shows up quite frequently throughout. So, again, going through those how to read a poem steps, walking through the stanzas, identifying what you can tell from the poem, and then really focusing on that personification portion. You'll get one last assignment for the week, so 5 assignments in total. You'll have another video going through that portion. Look for it. And yeah, with questions, make sure you email me or stop in at one of the virtual office hours. Thanks.